You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Whoa! Okay. I'm ready. Welcome to Split Your Head, a bi-weekly podcast hosted by me, Bob, that covers the gamut of all things horror, exploitation, cult, underground, experimental, transgressive, bizarre, and indie. I've been fortunate enough to connect with some of the most groundbreaking and upcoming filmmakers, writers, and artists. Don't expect a typical interview. I love shooting the shit with my guests and stumbling on surprising topics that'll literally split our heads. From splatter comedies to nihilistic sleaze, uncomfortable art house to genre classics. If it gets my brain buzzing and cracking wide open like a watermelon full of blood, then I would like to share it with your ears. Now a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network. Hi, Mom.
The following podcast will contain spoilers, tangents, hot takes, and excessive foul language. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Frightmares Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Proctor, and joining me today for episode 388 is my good friend, Derek Ferreira. Almost said Ferrari.
Ooh, what's going on? Ferrari works too. I've got it my whole life.
Today, on another installment of Julycanthropes Howl, we're discussing our deep cut pick, The Wolfman from 2010, a movie that has spent 16 years being called a bad remake when, in my opinion, it just came out. Really, the biggest crime was showing up in the wrong decade. Let's see where this lands in the Nightmare Index. All right, let me pull up the old letterbox here, mister. I haven't been watching shit because I don't have time. Excuses over here with Derek. Can't ever watch anything. Now I'm just fucking picking on you.
I feel like, dude, my list has been like, I'm so far behind on like so many things that have hit digital that I wanted to see like a couple months ago.
Like what?
And then Faces of Death is one of the ones that I wanted to see. Passengers still haven't watched. Like
those are all streaming now?
I know Faces of Death is. My friend said he watched Passengers, but maybe he was watching it with Jack Sparrow. But I'm pretty sure it might be digital too. There's a couple other ones that I'm blanking on right now, but I'm fucking so far behind.
Oh, perfect. Wait, what? Okay, so I'm looking on Shudder right now because I'm pretty sure that is where. Oh, finally, Bambi the Reckoning is streaming. Fucking finally, I can watch that.
Dude, it was solid.
The Evil Dead. Holy shit, they just added so much new stuff. I could have sworn I saw Faces of Death. What's today's date? Oh, it's the 9th. Faces of Death drops on the 10th on Shudder. I know that. Okay. But they have added a whole bunch of Pooniverse stuff on Shudder. Blood and Honey, Peter Land's Neverland Nightmare, Blood and Honey 2. This one called I Love Willie. Oh my. It's another Mickey Mouse slasher, but this guy is jacked. That's crazy. They have Bambi the Reckoning. And then they have this new Shudder. It was Shudder exclusive? Shudder original? Exclusive. It's called Touch Me, right? Listen to this fucking description. Two codependent best friends become addicted to the heroin-like touch of an alien narcissist who may or may not be trying to take over the world. I really want to watch that because that sounds fucking...
It sounds like Brain Damage.
Sounds like Brain Damage?
Yeah, Frank Honecker.
Henenlotter.
That's the one.
Frank Hanukkah, whatever the fuck his name is. Brain Damage.
It sounds similar. The you know.
Maybe it's a spiritual sequel. Oh yeah, I remember this one. Brain becomes addicted to the spell. Yeah, with euphoric. It does kind of sound like that. Interesting. I gave this film a 2. I think I need to rewatch that because it has a 3.5 out of 5. When did I rate this? Oh, this was back in 2019 when I didn't know shit about anything. Okay. Gonna have to rewatch that one. So what have you watched? Have you watched anything recently? Doesn't have to be horror. Can be whatever.
Let me bring up my Letterboxd right quick.
I saved some movies to talk about because
Matinee with John Goodman, where he essentially plays like a William Castle, where he goes in. It's set in the 50s during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Is that a new one?
No, it's older. Came out in 1993.
Oh,
super solid movie.
Directed by Joe Dante. Are you shitting me? Let's go.
Yeah, no, super good.
Hell yeah. Okay.
And then we watched Death Sentence.
Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
Fuck it. All right, that's the sign. I have to watch it. I just came to the to the realization the other day that I hadn't seen that one for whatever reason. And Spencer told me it was amazing. Now you've watched it. So now that means, all right, I've got to put that on the list.
Yes, definitely. It is. I don't cry during movies. It is one of the few movies that can bring a tear to my eye.
Whoa. Okay. All right. I wasn't expecting a level of emotion from that one. Was that your first time seeing it?
No, God, no.
Oh, I've been watching it since it came out.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I know. I'm really behind on that one. So.
And then Backrooms, but that was a little while ago now too. So yeah, I am super horribly behind on watching things.
You know, I was gonna go see the Backrooms extended cut because they put out a Backrooms Everything Must Go edition with 15 extra minutes of footage. I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. And then I found out it's like 15 minutes of post credits. And I was like, oh, well, that's not the same. I've already seen it in theaters twice anyways. And I was like, I'll just see this another time because I thought it was 15 extra minutes of footage that they wove into the movie. But apparently if you like Kane Pixels or Kane Parsons YouTube stuff, this is very akin to that, and I do, but I was like, I've already seen it twice, so I'm gonna just wait until that inevitably comes out on DVD or Blu-ray, and of course they probably won't have that edition, but whatever.
I hope they don't shaft us like that.
I know, I'm already worried about getting shafted with Obsession and not getting the director's cut with like the 17 fucking head smashes of so spoilers for that movie.
Considering it was like everybody thought that the fucking Blu-ray 4K whatever was going to have it, and then it doesn't.
Yeah, it's already at your Walmart. I ordered it on Amazon because it was $27.98, so it's the same price. So it'll be here the 14th. I can't believe how quickly they turned that around. But I know if it's like any horror movie from, I don't know if Sony does this, but I know a lot of times they'll release a Blu-ray, they'll release a 4K, and then like 6 months later, there's like, here's a steelbook. All right, fucking cool. That's what happened with Alien Romulus, I believe. That's what happened with Infinity Pool. I bought the 4K of Infinity Pool, and then like 6 months later, they were like, here's the unrated cut of Infinity Pool on a fucking steelbook. So I guarantee that's what they'll do with that just to get even more money. But they, Backrooms.
You know what would get Sony money?
What?
Not dropping physical discs.
Are they dropping physical discs?
Yeah, by 2028, Sony is getting rid of video game physical discs.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I was like, you've got to have heard about that.
That I've heard of, yeah. Which, I mean, it almost makes sense for video games at this point because everything is just downloaded and I don't know.
Don't say that. Don't say that. You're going to hurt the podcast. People are going to come for you with pitchforks.
Hey, I know. I'm not saying for movies. I'm saying for video games because at this because look, seriously, at this point, even if you get the disc, you still have to download 800 fucking gigabytes. It's not like it used to be where you put the disc in and you could play. You have to put the disc in and then download everything. So it's like, what is even the fucking point? But if they're gonna do away with discs, they need to fucking drop the price on that shit because they don't have to manufacture any boxes, any discs, and you know they're not. So they're gonna get rid of discs and probably charge you $10 more Fucking cheapskates.
I think with people, the biggest problem they have is that their fear of losing all physical media will come with this.
Well, didn't they also, someone also just took away like 500 movies from something, and people were like, we owned those. I'm like, this is exactly why I haven't bothered with digital copies, because they could just go away at any point. Like, I've never bothered with them. I never will. I give them away to friends because I'm like, here, you have this. I am never going to bother with it. If Fandango crashes tomorrow, there go all of your fucking movies. So I'm off on.
I will occasionally cash in my digital code, but it's mostly like if it's something the kid wants to watch too, so that way he doesn't have to come in, find the disc. He can just go into the Fandango. But yeah, I typically give my digital codes away too. Oh, and by the way, it was PlayStation. It was Sony that took away the 500 movies.
Fucking.
So they're just on a fucking roll with being a shitty company right now.
Terrible. A couple things I've watched. I've watched 3 movies I had to review for. Well, it makes it sound like an obligation. I picked these movies. So from AV Entertainment, I picked Scream Bloody Murder, I picked All the Kind Strangers, and I picked Night of Bloody Horror. Scream Bloody Murder is from 1973. It is very much a proto-slasher that I feel had to have inspired John Carpenter's Halloween, and if you ever watch it, it will make sense because it literally involves a kid going to a psych ward, coming back out years later, then going on a killing spree, and I'm like, that's fucking Halloween. Except he's not on a mask. So I'm like, I wonder if John Carpenter had any inspiration from that. 3 stars. That was really good. Very unique for the time. All the Kind Strangers, think of like Children of the Corn, but instead of killing all of the adults in town, every adult that passes through town, they try to make them their parents. It's these group of orphans that just desperately want parents, and they live in the backwoods of Tennessee. Stacy Keach is in this. If you don't know the name, he was in things like American History X. He was in Body Bags, in one of the segments. He's been in a couple of horror movies. He was also in Prison Break as the warden for a few seasons. And then you have Samantha Eggar in this as well, who was in David Cronenberg's The Brood, and she was also in Curtains. Those are 2 things that she's pretty famous for. Curtains. Yeah, good time. That one got a 3.5. And then I watched Night of Bloody Horror, which was the most bizarre movie I've seen in a while, and not in a good way. The description doesn't even really tie into the movie, because you get a reveal about 45 minutes in that really should have been mentioned at like the 5-minute mark. And it's a very bizarre movie, but the synopsis here is Wesley goes on a killing spree while experiencing the nightmares of his brother, who was killed 13 years earlier. Not really what happens in the movie. It's hard to recommend this one, but just because it didn't work for me doesn't mean it won't work for you. I gave it a 2 out of 5. And then in terms of just other things I've been watching, I've been heavy on the werewolf movies this month. OG Wolfman, watched that, 4 stars. American Werewolf in London, watched that. I already talked about that in the last episode. 3 stars. Howling, 4.5 stars. And then I watched Bad Moon, which is, I had it at a 3.5, then I raised it to a 4. Bad Moon might be one of the most criminally underrated or under-talked about movies, werewolf movies, because not only does it have a sick werewolf, but it also has a very unique premise. Highly recommend Bad Moon.
Did you give The Howling a better score than American Werewolf in 100%.
London? Absolutely. Howling is a superior film.
All right.
Yep. Go listen to Silver Bullet. I went on a whole tear on why I don't like American Werewolf in London as much as everybody
Silver
else.
Bullet. See, here's the thing: is I don't like to listen to the damn podcast if I haven't seen the movie. But thankfully, I have seen Silver Bullet, so I will listen.
Oh, I was about to say you haven't. Oh, if you haven't seen Silver Bullet, that's a fun one. That's a great Stephen King. Yeah. Over the years, I've just come to realize that I respect American Werewolf in London and what it did for sure. But it's just a movie that it doesn't, as a werewolf movie, it does not work for me as nearly as much as The Howling or like even the OG Wolfman. It's I don't know. I got controversial opinion on that. I haven't had a hot take on the podcast in quite some time, but I guess this month is where they're all going to come flying out, because Silver Bullet already had some thoughts there. This movie, I've got some thoughts on this one. So I guess this is the month where I'm letting it all out. But that's, that is what it is, you know. I don't say anything to rage bait anybody. These are just my opinions. I have very strange opinions on horror. If you've listened to the podcast, if
you know what? This is why I love talking movies in general, because I am not a gatekeeper. If you didn't like it, all I want to know is why.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, and you can if you listen to the Silver Bullet episode, I do list reasons as to why reasons that negatively affect my rating for American Werewolf in London. Like I said, it's not a bad movie by any means, and I think we can all agree American Werewolf in Paris is just a very sad follow up to what is a pretty iconic movie. But speaking of American Werewolf in London and The Howling, let's go to our IMDb roundup here, because someone who was involved in those two movies is also involved in this. So let's go to the body count here. I didn't write him down in my, the IMDb roundup, but we'll get to him. Well, he's a very important piece of this puzzle. But this is The Wolfman from 2010, released on February 12th of that year. Perfect time for a Valentine's Day date, if you want to do that. Rated R for bloody horror, violence, and gore. Mild sex and nudity. A little bit of a side boob with Emily Blunt. Severe violence and gore, definitely. Mild profanity, mild alcohol, drugs, and smoking, and moderate frightening and intense scenes. There are 2 runtimes for this movie, hour and 43 for the theatrical, and an hour 59 for the director cut. I will break those down, as I always do, when we start the review here. Listed as a drama, fantasy, horror, thriller. Directed by Joe Johnstone. Talk about a career this man's had. He also directed Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He directed the original Jumanji and Jurassic Park 3, the ultimate sleeper Jurassic Park movie. Love that movie. Not over the original. Let me not make everyone crazy. The original is still the best. Written by Andrew Kevin Walker, who also wrote Seven, Sleepy Hollow, and Psycho Killer from this year. Interesting career. Also written by David Self. He wrote The Haunting 1999, something called 13 Days, and then Road to Perdition. Composed by Danny Elfman, who, I mean, literally, I think the list would be smaller of the things he hasn't composed. He's basically done everything for Tim Burton. He also did Spider-Man 1 and 2, and the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, weirdly enough. So that's interesting. Didn't know he had a spicy side like that. Cinematography by Shelley Johnson. Also did the cinematography for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, which is that's a long name. Jurassic Park 3 and Captain America the First Avenger, edited by 2 people, Walter Murch. He also edited Apocalypse Now, The Godfather Part 3, and The English Patient. And then we have Dennis Verkler, who also edited Burnt Offerings, which is a fucking criminally underrated horror movie from the 76, I think. Airplane 2, the sequel, and Batman Forever. So these people, this is a wild group of people right here. And talk about a cast. Holy shit. Benicio del Toro as Lawrence Talbot. He was most recently in One Battle After Another as Sensei Sergio St. Carlos. Anthony Hopkins as Sir John Talbot. Should go without, having to be named, but he was also in The Silence of the Lambs as Dr. Hannibal Lecter. Emily Blunt as Gwen Conliffe, who was also in A Quiet Place 1 and 2 as Evelyn Abbott. And then we have Hugo Weaving as Aberline. He was in 2 small trilogies, The Matrix and The Lord of the Rings, just 2 small things you might have heard of. Estimated budget of $150 million, kind of bombing at the box office, only making $139.8 million. Not so great when you include marketing into the budget. So this is definitely not a bomb, but not a win. And this movie was filmed in Derbyshire, Wiltshire, Buckinghamshire, Surrey, all fucking everywhere in England. You can watch the theatrical version on HBO Max, but as I discovered, nearly every release, from the DVD to the Blu-ray to the 4K, have both versions of this movie, which is kind of cool. I was surprised when you were like, I think I have the director's cut on DVD, and I was like, I could have sworn usually Shout Factory, when they put out a 4K, will put out, an unrated cut for the first time. So I was looking back and I was like, oh no, you're covered. You're good. So, you did watch that version, right?
Sure.
Damn it.
I couldn't find my fucking copy of it, so I had to just stream it.
This is why this is probably why.
I read about what it was. I read what the 17 minutes I missed was.
Damn it. You're fine. That'll be interesting, because then we'll have two different versions to talk about. Yeah, because 17 minutes, that's a director's cut right there. Let me tell you. Movies that came out around the same time, we have Shutter Island, Kick-Ass, Alice in Wonderland, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, Buried, that terrible movie with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds.
Where he's buried. Fuck that movie. She's Out of My League, The Crazies, Legion, Frozen, the Adam Green one, not the Disney one, and Tooth Fairy, the movie everybody forgot about because The Rock plays a tooth fairy. IMDb summary: upon his return to his ancestral homeland, an American man is bitten and subsequently cursed by a werewolf. Let's go into the autopsy. I guess you could say this is an American werewolf in London. Because I mean, he goes back to London.
It's true.
Right? I mean, so yeah. All right, overall thoughts for The Wolfman 2010. You described it to me as not terrible. So expand on that.
As a big fan of the OG, it's not terrible. It's not great.
You sound very conflicted.
I am very conflicted. We had to go get our car serviced today, and the place that we leased it from is an hour away. And Tira and I were talking about it the whole time. And it's got its moments, but it falls flat for me in a lot of spots that we will discuss.
All right, that's fair. So this is my first time watching this, and the reason that this is considered a deep cut is because of what my wife explained in the last episode. I just feel like everyone has forgotten about this movie. I didn't even remember it was because I knew it was a movie like obviously around its release, but then Scream Factory put out a 4K and I was like, oh shit, that's right. I completely forgot about the 2010 Wolfman. So I haven't even seen it. And I figured what a better time to do it than now. And since there was an unrated cut or the director's cut, that's usually the preferred version in most cases. And in this case, according to my research, people were saying that yes, the director's cut is the preferred version. I think this movie fucking rocked. I've seen the ratings. I have heard the negativity about this movie. And an hour and 20 minutes into this, I was texting you or someone, and I was like, unless they fuck up the last 25 minutes, I don't understand the hate for this movie in any regard. I have one complaint about the entire movie, which is crazy to me. So I guess this is going to be my second hot take of the month, is that I fucking love this movie, and I really think people need to revisit it if it's been a long time, and make sure you watch the director's cut, because ultimately I think that version is going to be the stronger version. So that's my overall thoughts on this movie. Going into the differences here. So there, like I said, theatrical and a director's cut. Unrated is 119 minutes compared to 102 minutes of the theatrical. They expand the narration a little bit. The director's cut spends more time in the first half establishing the backstory. This includes a London theater sequence where Lawrence is first approached about his brother's disappearance, an extended dinner sequence that explains his tense relationship with his father, Sir John Talbot. There's also the theatrical cut completely removes the scene on the train where the mysterious old man, played by Max von Sydow, gives Lawrence his silver wolf head cane as protection. Gore and violence. The unrated cut features slightly more explicit mutilation and subtle different deaths of one of the victims, but the bulk of the runtime is actually dedicated to drama and atmosphere rather than gore. Which is interesting that the theatrical cut was that fucking graphic, because holy shit, I was not expecting this level of violence.
I forgot how fucking violent this movie was.
Like almost hyper gory. I couldn't believe it. So that's kind of the difference between the two. This is the first adaptation of the original movie. There have been plenty of werewolf and Wolfman style movies, but in terms of a legitimate remake, this is the first one since 1941, which I found very interesting. And it keeps a lot of the same beats alive. So in both versions, Lawrence returns home after his brother's death, reconnects with his estranged father. In the original movie, Larry falls for the groundskeeper's fiance, but in this movie, he falls for his brother's fiance. Obviously, his brother dies. Both are bitten by a werewolf while investigating strange attacks, and then they both slowly realize that they're becoming monsters. So the core narrative is almost identical to the original movie. It's about a man cursed with something he can't control, but I think the remake leans a lot harder into tragedy. This really does feel like a dramatic tragedy film, because Lawrence is much more emotionally damaged before he even appears on screen, as opposed to Lon Chaney, who, in my opinion, just is like a normal guy, you know, going to grieve his brother. Is that something that worked for you? The added backstory of Lawrence's character, I feel, might be something that will work for people and will not work for people. In this instance, giving the gothic vibe and setting they were going for, having a traumatic past for Lawrence really amped up the emotion side of things for me. But I'm not everybody. So is the backstory about the mother and all of that stuff and being locked away in the psych ward for a year, is that something that you think added or detracted from this movie?
It didn't not work for me as far as it's a nice touch, but I guess that's kind of what I like about the original so much, is that he is just a kind of an average dude who shows back up in town and then ends up in the wrong place at the wrong time, which is kind of similar to this one in the sense that, you know, he's still wrong place, wrong time kind of thing.
Definitely feel similar. But yeah, and it's almost like the debate of Halloween and, you know, Rob Zombie's version explaining a little bit more where people didn't want the explanation. I feel like that's kind of similar here, where you don't really know much about Lon Chaney's character, or, you know, Larry's character. I think it's funny. He's Larry in the original, and in this version, he's Lawrence. It feels like it should be backwards. But this movie is also set like 50 years prior to the Wolfman, because Wolfman was 41, and our 2010 version is established that it is 1891. So I guess it does make sense, but it's just funny. So for me, I think the addition works very well, because he is... If you're estranged from your father, like they both were in both versions, I feel like you need at least some sort of like something happened that made you estranged from your father. I can't remember if it's like a throwaway line that they use in the original. I did just recently watch it, but I wasn't fully paying attention to it. I was just trying to listen to it as I worked. But I like the fact that when it gives this movie like a psychological layer, because the audience for some amount of time is wondering whether he's truly becoming a werewolf or if he's just mentally ill. And that comes into play later when, he goes to, what is it, like, the clinic or whatever it is. And they're like, oh, we've got the hospital. And they're like, we've got so much better treatment now for your disease, because lycanthropy is considered a disease, both in the original and in this one. And I really love that aspect of, like, you're just sick. And that whole thing comes back into play when he's sitting in the room with all of these people. Like, if you don't get me out of here, shit's gonna go wrong. And they're like, you're not a werewolf. But we know at this point he's a werewolf. So the audience has superior position, again, much like in Silver Bullet, where we're like, wait, he's a werewolf. And then that whole scene plays out. It's just, oh my God, that was such a great scene. But I really like the addition of all of that trauma and all of that stuff, probably because it just kind of reminds me of the grief and horror trauma. It almost feels like it was ahead of its like a little bit ahead of its time by introducing all of the grief, his mother dying at a very young age and then him being committed to a psych ward. And then you just find out his father is the biggest piece of shit of all time. Anthony Hopkins, who usually is I guess he played Hannibal Lecter. I guess he plays a good villain. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
But the difference between Sir John in the original film is that he's a, rational-minded person. He's aggressively dismissing the werewolf legend, and when Larry insists that he's been attacked, Sir John dismisses it. It's mental delusion, and it's a form of mental illness known as lycanthropy, which is also brought up in this one. But then the remake completely changes that, because Anthony Hopkins not only knows about the lycanthropy, but embraces it as a gift because one of the reveals is that he also has it. And not only that, but he also killed Ben, and he also killed Lawrence's mother. So it's like that. The reveals just kept getting worse. I was like, oh my, this guy's a real piece of shit. He almost views this lycanthropy as freeing,
like a superpower.
Yeah. He likes it.
Yeah, he's totally down. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill me some bitches, and then I'm gonna do it again next full moon.
Yeah, exactly. And he tries to restrain. He does restrain himself for a while, but he's like, I think there's a point where he's like, I realize I don't, it's freeing to not restrain myself, to go out there and kill or not be killed. It's like, I was like, man, what an interesting dynamic to add into this movie that I did not see coming at all. I had my suspicions about it, but the moment that's clarified is when he locks himself in that chamber and he backs into the shadows and his eyes kind of do that glisten. I was like, is this motherfucker a werewolf? And then that's when we get our first transformation from Benicio del Toro's character. And honestly, yeah, it's CG, it's 2010, I get it, but the way they shot it, I feel, was very clever, because they give you glimpses of a foot expanding and glimpses of a hand expanding. They cleverly place a candle in front of one of the scenes where you can see his shadows distorting. One of the shots is like a puddle of water that is reflecting his face. So I think they did it pretty smart, and I really thought it was just going to be a movie drowned out in horrible CG, but really it's not. Rick Baker is the person I was going to mention, who worked on American Werewolf in London and The Howling. He also worked on the creature effects in this movie. Obviously not the CG, I don't think, but the actual practical effects. But there are so many more practical effects in this movie than I expected, especially with the werewolf. And I like the design. This is a big point of contention in this film, is the look of the werewolf. Is that one of the issues you have with this one?
No, actually, I don't mind the werewolf in this one at all. Obviously, there's practical, definitely some covered up with CG and whatever. So, like, Some of the CG doesn't work for me. But as far as just like, when he turns around and like, no, he's like it's a good menacing werewolf for sure.
Yeah, because it feels like it's keeping true as much as they possibly can to the original, with kind of a humanoid face that's covered in fur. But then, of course, he still has those long feet and long limbs and stuff like that. I also just love the look of a werewolf in a business suit that's kind of just busting at the seams.
But why did Anthony Hopkins have to go like full, like, I'm gonna rip my whole shirt off? And I guess just so we could differentiate between the two.
I think so. Yeah, because that was also a great reveal. I'm very excited to talk about that ending sequence. So let's get into So I mentioned that I think this movie came out at the wrong time. And I really do. I think it's just been a misunderstood movie since it was released. Like I said, this is the first time I'm seeing it. I'm viewing this from a completely different lens, because I went into this movie expecting it to be bad. That's all I've heard about it, is it's bad. It's got a decent rating. It's under a 3. It doesn't have the greatest rating, but I think it's because audiences expected one movie and got something completely different. In 2010, when you hear werewolf movie, you're expecting something modern, something fast-paced, with a lot of slick action and maybe some sort of gritty reinvention of the mythology. I mean, that's where Hollywood kind of was at the time. You think about the late 2000s and franchises like Batman Begins, where they were approaching these legacy characters differently with a much more darker tone. I mean, don't get me wrong, the original 2 Batmans are pretty dark, but then Batman Forever happened, which was one of the weirdest movies in existence, and then Batman and Robin also happened, which really lightened those characters up. So that's kind of where we were at, and that's not what Joe Johnston made. He didn't modernize the Wolfman. He looked backward and gave it. It's like a love letter to Gothic horror. You've got all of this fog everywhere, towering candles, candlelit hallways, or towering castles, candlelit hallways. This tragic romance, a cursed bloodline. It's not trying to reinvent the Universal monster, but I feel like it's really trying to remind us why the Universal monsters were so effective in the first place. Do you agree with that, or do you have a different
No,
take?
yeah. I mean, the one thing that I do like about it is that it wasn't modernized for, that time frame, and the sets are beautiful.
The sets are so good.
The opening, see, it's funny because we sat down, we watched it, and that opening kill, I was like, this is so Sleepy Hollow-esque.
Yep.
It's awesome. You get there's a scene in Sleepy Hollow that's practically the same, where it's that,
you're yeah.
How do you describe it when you're just sitting here talking? But you know what I mean? It's that backwards, eyes bulged right as he gets across the chest. And I was like, oh, maybe I did see this with a jaded opinion in the first place. And then unfortunately, as it went on, I was like, no.
I'm wondering.
But yeah, no, set wise and everything. It's
good.
It's awesome.
And this movie opens weirdly similar to Silver Bullet in the sense of werewolf attacking immediately. American Werewolf in London takes a few minutes, within the first 10-15 minutes you get the attack. But this one, it's great. You get glimpses of the creature. Ben is out there looking for who he knows as his father, because he's like, where are you? Show yourself. And it's so perfect. The shot sequences are so perfect because you get you do get a glimpse of the entire face, but it's so brief. You're like, I can't tell if I like that or not. Go back. You know what I mean? So the opening is so strong. And then I think you get your title card. But then, yeah, it commits to the old school Gothic tone. And, everybody in the world completely sells it. And let's go back and talk about the cast. You got Benicio del Toro. You've got Anthony Hopkins, Emily Blunt, Hugo Weaving. You even get Gemma Whalen, who would later be in Game of Thrones. I mean, you can't go wrong with this cast. And Benicio del Toro's portrayal of Lawrence is much different than the classic. You don't want to do the same exact thing. Chaney's Lawrence was tragic because of circumstance, whereas del Toro's Lawrence is kind of tragic long before he's been bitten. He has had a fucked up childhood. Emily Blunt as Gwen, I think, is great in this movie, because a lot of the times Gothic horror can sometimes become so consumed by atmosphere that the romance feels like an obligation. But I like watching them slowly warm to each other over time, because a lot of the times in movies like this, it's either instant attraction and we're in love immediately, or it doesn't happen until the end. But they're slowly kind of connecting as this movie goes on. And it doesn't feel like it's overshadowing the Wolfman stuff, and it doesn't feel like it's overshadowing the overarching story of what's happening. I think it's a nice little addition, and I think this, I'm sure I've probably seen Emily Blunt in earlier roles, but this is definitely an earlier role for her, and I think she crushes it. I'm a huge fan of her. And then of course there's Anthony Hopkins. I mean, what can you say about this man? He's had an incredible career, and even Hugo Weaving as well. I love the handlebar mustache that goes into the chops. Great look for this man. But I like what was there a character like the inspector in the original movie? I don't know why I'm blanking right now. Was there? Okay. I couldn't remember, but I really love his portrayal. I think all of these people work so well together. So when you have this very well established Gothic atmosphere, you have this, I'd say maybe not for the time, ensemble cast, because I don't know how really big Benicio del Toro and Emily Blunt were at the time, but I mean Hopkins and
Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins were definitely the two big pulls for this movie.
Well, and Hugo Weaving,
I don't remember.
He was,
true. But I don't think Emily Blunt really, but I mean, Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
Let me blank on what came before this, but he was definitely a major star when he was cast in this.
Okay. So that's probably why he's the leading man. But yeah, I mean, even Hugo Weaving was in two huge franchises before this. So you have the Gothic atmosphere. You have this great cast. You have Danny Elfman's score, and it's not necessary. I wouldn't say this is his greatest score. It feels very kind of stripped down, but it's there.
Yeah,
and it's noticeable.
Apparently, I can't remember if it was fully done or not, but I was reading about it after it got over last night, and they had somebody else compose the music originally, but this person did like some like weird synthy shit.
Oh,
That's why they reverted.
I have the trivia for you right here. Speaking of that, Danny Elfman was the original composer of this movie and recorded a complete score inspired by the score for Bram Stoker's Dracula. This score was rejected as it did not fit the new tone of the movie after several reshoots and delays. Paul Haslinger was supposed to replace him, but Universal Pictures pulled the plug on that and decided to reinstate Elfman's Gothic score. So it's a very bizarre story of how Danny Elfman was basically fired and then rehired.
I can't imagine watching this movie and having like some like weird 80s Italian synth going with it.
That would be a completely different movie. And now all I can think of is I need a werewolf giallo movie. It doesn't make any sense, but I need that in my life.
I would take it in my life.
So yeah, Elfman has done a lot of stuff, and he doesn't score this like an action movie, even though it kind of feels like an action movie in some cases. It does. Some of those sequences where body parts are literally flying around, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, yo, this is fucking nuts. And he doesn't really rely on adrenaline-fueled cues. It's more, he leans into more of like these kind of sweeping orchestral melodies that feel operatic almost. And like I said, it's not, I didn't really notice the score so much. And sometimes that's good and bad. Sometimes that means it just fits so well that it just didn't stand out, but other times it just means it wasn't good, But I think in this instance, it was fitting so well with what was happening, I didn't necessarily pick up on the score, because usually that's the one thing I'm listening for in movies. So I think this is just one of those, it just fits so well, and it wasn't trying to dominate the scene, that it just flowed very well with the story. But underneath all this elegance, like I said, with the nice score and all of these dark brooding castles and all of these wonderful actors, you have the Wolfman itself, and it is a complete contrast with everything that's happening on screen, because all the costumes that everyone are wearing for the time are gorgeous. The cinematography is, you could take a screenshot of every frame of this movie and you could hang it on a wall, and then someone gets torn in half. like you're watching this beautiful, dramatic Gothic horror where the violence really shouldn't fit, because Gothic movies like this typically aren't this over the top with the violence, but it almost works so well because it's such a jarring contrast. You're like, whoa, I was not expecting all of this blood. And then the first time you see it, you're like, okay, now I know what to expect. It's only a matter of when is the next time this is going to happen. Because like literally there was an arm that gets thrown at one point. I think he punches someone's head off at another point. I think that was probably one of my favorite moments, because it is the last person that he is after when he first transforms and everyone is trying to attack him. Not before that guy is underground and all the guys are trying to shoot, the Wolfman, but they're just shooting. They're just shooting the guy in the chest. But the last guy to remain is in the swamp, and he's like, I do the same thing. Fuck it, I'm just gonna take my life. Click, and he's like, "Don't worry, bro, I got you." Smack, and just fucking head goes. So good.
The claw through the jaw.
Oh,
and the gypsy part. Oh, so fucking! I was like, holy fucking! Like,
yeah, like whoa! Like I was not expecting this.
Whoa! It really has been 16 years since I've seen this movie, because I do not remember this violence.
And the violence too, I'd say, outside of a couple scenes, I think the hand through the mouth was obviously enhanced with some sort of CG. But I would say 80% of this is practical effects. The wounds that the Wolfman is making on these people are incredible. The fake body parts that are flying around, it's a $150 million budget, so it makes sense that it looks so good, but I genuinely was surprised with how graphic this movie was. Because the original Wolfman... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, the worst CG is the fucking stupid flashbacks he gets of the friggin' feral kid like crawling up the bed, and you're like, that was laughably bad.
Yes, I will agree that those were the worst instances, but because even the transformation when he's in front of all of those, when he's in that, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a place where you go and all of these students can watch you and whatever that area is called. Even that transformation when his face started to distort, I was like, that's not bad. Honestly, it's not that. No, it's not bad. But
because 2010 was like, maybe not peak, but pretty effing close to peak with CGI. And now, unfortunately, even though it's way better, we're getting stuff like, oh my God, what was that stupid Rennie Harlan movie that just came out, Deep Water or whatever, with the plane crash and the sharks?
Oh, are the sharks really bad?
And I haven't watched it yet, but I have heard that the sharks are horrendous in that movie.
That's funny. That's funny because my cult movie challenge, it's a real sidebar here. It's Sharksploitation week. I forgot to talk about this movie just because I hadn't finished it, but I'm watching it's the one where the plane crashes but gets trapped at the bottom. No Way Up. It's called No Way Up.
No Way Up.
Yeah,
yes.
Which is, it's like the same premise as Deep Water, except one's underwater and one's on top. But yeah, so I was watching that before I watched Deep Water just to compare, and it's sad to hear that the sharks are not good. Rennie Harlan has just been a bucket of disappointment lately. He did Deep Blue Sea. Deep Blue Sea was great. Then he fucked up the Strangers trilogy, and now he's fucking up shark movies again. Rennie Harlan,
go back to doing your Stallone cliffhanger movie, okay?
Yeah,
because apparently you're not meant for horror like you think you are.
Like
Rennie
you used
Harlan.
to be. I mean, I love Deep Blue Sea. It's a great time, but everything after that he's done horror-wise has not been great. But anyways, the CG, because you're right, because the second Pirates movie, I would say, is when we were peaked with CG, because fucking Davy Jones, to this day, still looks better than 90% of the slop that we put out. And I think Dead Man's Chest was 2007 or 2006 or something like that. So between 2006 and like 2011, those were some of the best times for CG, because they actually cared and they wanted to make it look good. And I was very surprised, because I was wondering, I was like, all right, we've seen one transformation. I wonder if we're going to get another one. And then they show you a full transformation of Lawrence in that little room. And then you even get another one at the end of the movie with Anthony Hopkins and Benicio del Toro. So you get like a total of 4 transformations, I think, in this movie, which is really cool.
Yeah, that part in the mental hospital, and then like when he transforms and he's jumping the roofs.
Dude. Yeah.
That's solid.
That was a peak moment. He gets up on the roof and just starts. And what I really, really enjoy about this iteration of the Wolfman is typically you have bipedal werewolves or you have them on all fours. And when he wants to run fast, my boy haunches down and just gets on all fours. That's not something that's typically done in a lot of werewolf movies. And I really like the fact that he could run if he wanted to, or go to all fours and just fucking start sprinting. I really like that. But jumping from rooftop to rooftop, and then at one point he fucking throws somebody out a window and they fall on a fence, and then he jumps down on a policeman and like crushes him. And then it's literally an American Werewolf in the street of London. He's on that bus, fucking tearing people apart. That bus scene, I was like, Jesus Christ. Blood is just spraying everywhere. I was serious.
Which bus scene did it better?
Right. This one or Texas Chainsaw? Wait,
Texas Chainsaw.
I don't know. That's
exactly where I was going.
Listen,
with that statement.
that movie might be complete dog shit, but that is a movie to actually give us a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because that massacre on the bus was the most massacre I've seen from a Texas Chainsaw movie, and the violence was incredible. Other than that, the movie is dog shit. But man, that bus scene was pretty fucking solid. I am interested to see, kind of shifting gears here on the same subject of the Wolfman, because this obviously was a modern movie set in 1891, done very well, but I'm very interested to see how Robert Eggers is going to approach his werewolf movie. probably going to be set in around the same time, maybe even earlier. And I'm wondering, since it's 2026, what are we going to do? What are we doing here? Are we going to go full gothic, or because his style?
He's going full gothic.
I mean, he's got to. After doing Nosferatu and seeing, because he did The Witch with. Would The Witch be gothic horror? I mean, I guess.
A little bit.
It taps into it a little bit. The Lighthouse, the Lighthouse was more of just like this kind of Lovecraftian weirdness, but then Nosferatu was straight gothic horror. I mean, that was a brilliant movie. So I think I guess even kind of the Northman, not really gothic, but it's all set around the same time. And I'm very excited to see his werewolf movie coming up, because one, we haven't had a good werewolf movie, I'd say, since fucking The Wolf of Snow Hollow in 2020, or Werewolves Within 2021. Like, we really
I loved Lee Whannell's The Wolfman.
Oh shit, that's right. Okay, I forgot. Sorry, I forgot.
I know a lot of people. No, it's okay. A lot of people didn't like it.
No,
so
I loved it.
Maybe you were.
No,
okay.
I did genuinely love that. That's right. Okay, that's right. But I guess what I'm saying is we haven't had. Okay, let me rephrase that. We haven't had like an original, because that was basically a modernized version of the 1941 movie. The Wolf of Snow Hollow and Werewolves Within were both original ideas. I think Werewolves Within was based on a video game, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but yeah, Wolf of Snow Hollow was one of the most original werewolf ideas. And that was 2020, especially because there's a reveal in that movie that you're like, oh shit, that's a really good one. So I'm excited to see what Eggers does with this one. And of course, it's Werewolf, WERWULF, because he's got to be.
What are you talking about? Werewolves with Frank Grillo or whatever, where they have to wear moon screen, was so original. Fucking
that was so rough. I was like, Frank Grillo, you're just infinitely better than this. What are you doing here?
He sunk to like Lou Diamond Phillips level with that movie. Like, they should have just cast Lou Diamond Phillips as the main person rather than being the president who gets killed off in just.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would love to tell you my one plot point that I do not like about this Wolfman movie.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's get into that.
When Hugo Weaving shows up as the inspector,
yes,
and immediately wants to point his finger at Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Why? There were already killings prior to Lawrence showing up in town. And I guess that's why that's one of the holes for me, is you want to come in here. Because the inspector in the 1941 version is like, yeah, you killed him. And it makes sense because there were no werewolf attacks prior to Larry Talbot showing up in town. In this movie, there already were attacks. His brother was killed. The mother was played off as suicide. So why are you showing up and just immediately pointing fingers at this grief-ridden dude just because he's grief-stricken?
I'm thinking that's exactly what it is. I'm thinking because of the fact that he already spent a year in the psych ward. He is the only new person in town, despite the fact that these killings have been going on. Because you have to remember, too, the father not only killed the mother, played it off like he didn't, and it was suicide, and put his son away for a year. I guess to cover his own ass. So I'm speculating here with this because I don't know if there's an actual answer, but given his past, given that he's new in town, and given that more killings are starting to happen, because before Ben dies, I'm not sure where we were at with the werewolf attacks.
And that's the other thing that I wish they had explained more, because Anthony Hopkins is all like power driven with being a werewolf, but he's locking himself. I guess that's like something that confused me a little bit, is wait, so do you go out and kill every full moon because you love doing this, or are you locking yourself up? There wasn't enough town folklore.
I wonder if I wonder if that is included in the director's cut, because there's a scene where Anthony Hopkins is talking to Benicio del Toro, and he was talking about the night Ben died. And he said he was he got very drunk and very violent that night. And when I think his name was, his servant guy was named Singh, I believe. He said when Singh was trying to lock him up for the night because he was belligerently drunk and couldn't do himself, he accidentally knocked him out and roamed free that night. And that's the night that Ben died. And that's the night that changed his opinion on the werewolf not just being this curse, but being this freedom, which seems weird because you're like, you just killed your son. What the fuck? But so I think that was the turning point for him, because he had been locking himself up all these nights until he got out when he knocked Singh out. And then that's the night his brother died. So I think that might have been the turning point. And I don't know if that's in the theatrical version. I genuinely don't know. That might be an added scene. Because if it's not in the theatrical version, because I
did get up to get a snack at one point, so I might have missed it if it was. But I will say that as much as this was kind of middle of the road for me, it does make me want to go back and watch the director's cut with the stuff that you were talking about, because this movie also felt very choppy to me.
Okay.
And it felt choppy during. So they took out those 17 minutes. 17, right?
17, yeah.
In order to speed up the getting to his first transformation.
Correct.
They took out 17 minutes of this movie just so we could see a transformation sooner. So before he transforms and we see it for the first time, I can't remember the scene when the pastor and whatever, like the whole town shows up to like essentially like hang Larry, and he shoots him and scares him off or whatever.
Oh yeah.
There was something happening right before that, and then it went right to that. And I was like, wait, why did that seem like it just like we lost a scene right there?
So fun fact, I love the fact that you have kind of a timestamp for this, because you're saying it's about 47 minutes when we see the first transformation. Is that what you said? You said about 47 minutes when he first transforms?
It was something like that, because I happened to look at the time on my...
Okay, so then that means there is 13 additional minutes before he transforms, because he doesn't transform in the director's cut until an hour and 1 minute. So essentially you get 14 more minutes before the transformation that would probably make the movie make a lot more sense, because that's what at least from what I'm reading, that's the issue people had with this movie, is they felt like pieces were missing from it, and there wasn't enough established in the beginning, and then all of a sudden he's transforming. Because even one review I said was like, if you're going to make us wait 47 minutes for the werewolf transformation, at least make that 47 minutes interesting. Yeah, he doesn't transform until an hour and 1 minute and like 52 seconds in the director's cut. So I think all of that stuff that they took out was essential to setting up the story. And then there must be a few extra minutes later in the movie that are also added. So I really do think the issue here is the theatrical cut. Fucking studio got involved, wanted to speed up the pace to get to the action quicker, because a 2-hour werewolf movie is pretty long. I mean, most of these werewolf movies are like...
We had action. There was action right at the beginning. There's action at the gypsy camp. Like, there's enough scattered in that fuck off. First of all, Universal, this is what pisses me off about all studios. You hire these people because you have faith in them, right?
Right.
So have faith in what you're just money. All you are is money.
Right.
And you take the people who actually have artistic ability, directors, writers, producers, and you go, here's money for this. So have some faith in these people that you're hiring.
Yeah, it's exactly like here's an example. It's like it's like you have a boss, right? And they don't know the inner workings of all of your job details, and they're seeing problems on their end, and they're coming in to say, well, this needs to be fixed. And you're like, wait a second. That's not how this process works. You got to let me cook here for a second, and then, it'll all make sense. It's like someone trying to explain you a job to you that they don't know how to even do themselves. It's like, just let me cook here, okay? Like, I've got something working.
It's like working at Walmart for me, man. The high CEOs have no idea what it's like to be on the sales floor.
That's what I was trying to say. I like what you said better. If I can cut out what I said and just put in what you said, I'm going to do that, but it's fine. I'll just
No, I like, yeah, it's my biggest hatred with studios because they have fucked up so many movies. And maybe on occasion the studio steps in and they do fix it. And there was something else that I just semi-watched recently where I'm like, oh, studio fucked it up again.
I'll tell you one thing.
And Universal is, please tell me your one thing before I go on my Universal rant.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I'll tell you the one thing that the studio's not about to fuck up is Evil Dead Burn, because I've just been reading up on so much about that, and basically nothing has been cut for the movie. They've just had to get creative with some scenes, essentially, and so they're not going to ruin that. But you'd think, transitioning into your Universal rant, you'd think Universal, this is their own property. Just let the man tell his story. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't need to be... The original was 78 minutes. Like, this is not going to be a 78-minute effective short movie. We have a lot to establish here, okay? Let's let the man cook and let's let him do his job, because their director's cut, so fucking good.
Universal, I swear, hates their own properties. Here's the problem with this is Universal had a major hit with Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. Mm-hmm. So going forward, it seems like they thought that all of the Universal monster movies that came later on needed to be action adventure movies.
Yep.
Which is where they're failing. The Mummy with Tom Cruise. Nobody wants to see that shit. You got what's the other one that I was thinking of? I'm blanking now. But they do tend, and even with this movie, like you mentioned, it is gothic. You know, it's on the gothic side, but then when there is the horror, it's almost elevated by a little bit of action that doesn't it's a weird line with this one specifically, because I will say that obviously the action is also just like to help intensify the scenes of like the juicy camp and whatnot. But yeah, Universal has a terrible track record with being like, well, the Brendan Fraser movie did billions at the box office, so every movie needs to have action adventure Tom Cruise doing his own stunts. No, these are horror movies. Unfortunately, back in the 30s and 40s, they just couldn't do what we can do now. Please let somebody who has love for these movies make them. And keep your noses, you can put your wallet forward, but keep your noses. Yeah, I Frankenstein. That's the one I was thinking of. What a fucking disgrace of a Frankenstein movie that was.
I'll never understand it. You know, I'll never understand why they feel like they have to get involved. I mean, this really could have been the start of the Dark Universe had they done it correctly, because they tried to do the Dark Universe with the Mummy with Tom Cruise, and that fell to pieces. And then
Van Helsing too, which I have a soft spot for Van Helsing. Don't get me wrong.
I love Van Helsing.
But it's another action adventure movie. If they ever take The Creature from the Black Lagoon and fuck it up, I'm going to Universal with some bad words for them.
I'm gonna go
because
knock
that
on
is
their
one
doorstep.
of my favorites.
It's like the one thing they haven't really remade. I mean, I guess loosely Del Toro did kind of do A Creature from the Black Lagoon.
It was kind of his lovey variation of it, but
yeah. Let's see. The only other thing I wanted to mention, of course, I mentioned Rick Baker already, but I wanted to talk about how this man starts off with I'm sure he did work before that, but he does 2 amazing werewolf movies. And then this was actually the last movie he did special effects for. And I find it's like coming full circle, right? He came back to put his own spin on a classic monster, and I think he fucking nailed it. I really love the look of this of this werewolf. And then the only other thing I wanted to touch on was the ending, because I kind of saw it coming. I was like, okay, they're both werewolves. I feel like we're gonna get a fight. And in my head, I'm like, that sounds silly as shit. And then it happens, and I'm like, okay, this is awesome, because it doesn't only work on a visual level, but it works on an emotional level, because it's not just father fighting son. It is werewolf fighting werewolf, and this man is the cause of all of this. So it's like Benicio del Toro's reaction to learning that he killed Ben, learning that he killed his mother, learning that he is a werewolf because of his father. So it adds such an emotional depth to this fight scene. It's not just two werewolves beating the shit out of each other. There's such an emotional charge to it. And then we get another fucking beheading. He gets fucking Anthony Hopkins gets yeeted into the fire and gets his head ripped off, and then it rolls over to the camera, and I was like, this is just so much fun. Like, man, even with some wonky CG, which is my only complaint. That is my only complaint. Some of the wonky CG, definitely that little kid who bit Sir John originally. It was very strange. I feel like you could have done that practically, but I don't know why we had to do that. My only complaint with this movie is
he
some of the CG.
He also could have got bit by it could have just been bit by a werewolf. Why'd it have to be some feral child thing?
Yeah,
maybe we don't even get a backstory as to how he became the werewolf in the first place. I would have been okay with that too. But yeah, when he gets his head knocked off and it like kind of rolls and winks at the screen or whatever, like that was a little wonky on the CG. The fight itself, I'm not a big fan of the fight, because I'm not a big fan of the fact that Anthony Hopkins was the werewolf who created the whole problem in the first place.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I guess I'm too attached to the original, and
no, that's fair.
If I could erase the original, maybe I'd have a little bit more love for this. I love every scene with Benicio del Toro as the Wolfman without Anthony Hopkins in it. There's like, I almost like want to fan cut this to myself and like, okay, this is the 50-minute version that we get with this.
And this is the thing I love about talking about remakes, is because while this does keep a lot of the original beats and a lot of even the names and all that stuff, if it were to do exactly what the original did, you wouldn't like it. And they do something just a little bit different, and you're still not a fan of it. So that's my favorite thing about remakes, is it's like, where's the line where the remake hits every box for someone who is attached to the original movie? And it's a very hard thing to do. It's not that I'm not attached to the original movie. I think it's fantastic for 1941. I really love the story. It's quick. You're in and you're out at 78 minutes. But I definitely don't have an attachment like you do to it. So I can understand why some of the story elements don't work for you that work for me. I like a change up every now and again if it works. And in this instance for me, I thought it really worked. I was like, hell yeah, this is something that worked. There are plenty of remakes though where they try to do something different, and I'm like, this just feels so far out of left field. I can't think of an example right now, but I know there's one out there where I'm just like, this is not the vibe we needed in this movie. So all of that to say this,
it's that fine line of what makes it a remake versus a reimagining. Like, this is more of a remake, mostly same beats with a little bit of change up, but like some could argue that even maybe this is a reimagining and they just use the same names.
Yeah, it's like the hardest line to toe between like requel, remake, reimagining. It's like, which one are we? Yeah. So it's always an interesting conversation there. I think that's all I have. I think that's all I got on the Wolfman. I really, really enjoyed this, and my rating is going to probably, I don't know. It is what it is. This one is a combination of A, how much I enjoyed it, but B, how much it surprised me with just how good it was. It's a $150 million movie, and it looks like a $150 million movie. So I think I was just very impressed with so many aspects that I wasn't expecting to be impressed with. I was expecting a CG nightmare hellscape and didn't get that at all. outside
No,
of a
which
few.
is funny because that's kind of how I remembered it too. So when I rewatched it, I
Right.
was like, well, at least it's not the CG hell that I thought it was, that I remembered it being.
And that's why I'm saying to anybody who hasn't revisited this in a while, I definitely think this movie needs a reevaluation in 2026 with the director's cut. And like I said, you can get it on the Scream Factory 4K. You can get it on the Blu-ray that's like $7.99 on Amazon. And the fucking DVD also has it. So the director's cut is widely available. It's just not streaming unless you rent it on Amazon, I believe. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Unless you have any other closing thoughts or anything else that we didn't get to that you'd like to mention.
Nope.
All right, let's move on to the final cut then. Okay, something's uneven here. Why is this uneven? Fucking so many chords. All right, let's go back here. Find my mouse, which is just always disappearing.
Excuse me.
There it is. Jesus. Okay. Taglines: when the moon is full, the legend comes to life. The legend is alive, and fear what is inside. These fucking taglines for the werewolf movies are not great.
No, and they tried to play it too much like, oh, like this is clearly a remake, so let's do the whole legend thing.
Yeah, didn't work. Oh, one more. I just remembered a scene that I really liked. One, they have the Howl in this is top tier, but when he's on top of that building on like the gargoyle or whatever, and the camera like pans down to reveal the moon and he howls, I was like, oh, this is so great. Sorry, side tangent. Trivia: the bear owned by the Gypsies was actually recycled animation from the Golden Compass 2007. The polar bear was changed into a grizzly for this movie. I thought that was fun.
Oh, that's cool.
When the Wolfman is being chased in London, he jumps off a building and lands on a policeman. This was actually accomplished with real actors and stuntmen and not CGI, which is quite impressive.
That is, yeah.
This is my favorite fucking trivia. Rick Baker compared his experience on this as the same experience on making American Werewolf in London. He said about the werewolf makeup, quote, David Naughton basically had no body hair, but Benicio del Toro is so hairy that making him a werewolf was so easy. I love that.
Great.
I love that. I already read the thing about Danny Elfman. This movie is one of 2 werewolf movies to win an Academy Award for Best Makeup, awarded to Rick Baker and Dave Elsey. The first was an American Werewolf in London, also given to Baker. So Rick Baker has won 2 Academy Awards for practical werewolf effects, and that's something that should be fucking celebrated. Goofs here. I do love some good goofs. When Sir John Talbot is blowing out candles, they are clearly filament lamps, as the third candle lamp actually goes out before he blows on it. I noticed that. That was really funny. When Talbot is first in Gwen Conlife's shop in London, there is a vase of flowers containing stargazer lilies. The stargazer lily was not created until 1978 by Leslie Woodruff. Thanks, nerd. Also the Tower Bridge, which opened in 1894, is seen operating during this film, which is set in 1981. Fucking shut up. I love petty goofs. Rated 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb for our purposes of the Nightmare Index. That is a 2.9 out of 5. Or 2.95 out of 5. And then has a 2.7 on the Letterboxd. 32% on the tomato meter, 33% audience score. Generally not a liked movie. What did you give this?
I gave it a 3.
Gave it a 3. Okay. This is going to be a very controversial rating. I'm giving this a 4.5. So don't come at me in the comments. But that does give us a Nightmare Index of a 3.23, which means this movie falls in between. Oh, it's actually tied with Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla at a 3. Oh, wait, no, this is 3.29. I'm stupid. Okay, so this is going to sit right above Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla at a 3.23 and right underneath Puppet Masters at a 3.34. So number 17 on the list here of our Nightmare Index. Love that. Let's see here. Similar movies according to IMDb. We have Wolfman, from 2025. Wolf from 1994. The Wolfman from 1941. Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Slayer. Maybe there's werewolves in that. And then American Werewolf in London. Similar movies according to Letterboxd. We have The Wolfman 1941, Sleepy Hollow, The Cursed from 2021, Crimson Peak, and then Just Cursed, the Wes Craven vehicle. I only have 2 funny reviews because everyone was going on rants about how much they did not like this movie, and they're not even that great. So that's
like I always do.
And I forgot to remind you. So there's that. 4 stars from Ray. Emily Blunt and Benicio del Toro are a match made in hot people's heaven. I agree. And then this one was the funniest one that actually made me laugh out loud. 2.5 stars from Haley. The way the werewolf ran looked strangely familiar to 7-year-old me pretending to be a horse.
I guess.
Yeah. So quick reviews there. Yeah, everyone. I scrolled for a long time. I was like, this is all I can find. Sometimes you know they can't all be winners.
Nope.
Derek, where can everybody find you on social media if they would like to give you a follow?
You can find me on TikTok as HFK's Movie House, and you can find me on Instagram as HFK or Horror Film Kid.
Horror Film Kid 48.
And then I'm on Letterboxd as HFK, right?
Yep, HFK 48. It just says D.
And then it just says D.
Go get the D from HFK.
I set it up before I started being a content creator. And I'm on YouTube as HFK too. I don't fucking know. I'm not good about updating my YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube is we're getting a weird amount of traction there, so I'm going to keep it going. So if you do enjoy the show, please rate and review on your favorite podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Slasher, Threads, and YouTube at Frightmares Podcast. Our email is stayspooky@outlook.com. You can also follow me personally on Letterboxd at Dr. Proctor. We've already mentioned Derek is HFK48. If you'd like to expand your movie podcast listening, be sure to check out the Shameless Pictures Show, the Dead-Eyed Millennial Film Club, and 1 Week Rental as well. Also, the vast library of someone's favorite productions. There is a podcast out there for you. Next week, Corey and I will be doing Werewolves Within from 2021 as our modern pick. It is streaming everywhere. AMC Plus, Hulu, Shudder, and YouTube TV. So if you have subscriptions to any one of those, be sure to check it out. If you're a fan of Josh Rubin, who did Hard Eyes and is also a hilarious comedian on one of the show I can't think of right now, you'll like this movie. If you like Sam Richardson from I Think You Should Leave, you'll like this movie as he's in it. I can't sell this movie enough. It sells itself. So until next week, guys, stay tuned.
And stay spooky.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description